Hey everyone, this is a super special interview and very last minute with amazing mountain bike and cyclocross world champion winner who's a local and a friend of mine. So Patricia Konantz. So my name is Sylvie from Dow Training Systems, Coach Sylvie, and also the founder of this cycling interview series called Secrets from the Saddle, just because of my pure curiosity about the cycling world that I've been part of for the last 20 years. And it gives me amazing pleasure to be talking to this lady. So currently we're trying to exercise social distancing, but we need to stay in the frame. And we're going to be talking about, and she's actually going to be sharing with us her just journey in cycling, right? Because when I met you, I can't even remember when I met you, but we're probably on mountain bikes back when I mountain biked, or maybe it was at the gym.
It might have been the OBC time trials.
Oh, yes. Okay, that's probably it. So
Tuesday and Thursday nights.
That's possibly it. But I remember when we were in the gym and you just retired, and that's when life started.
My whole life started when
All right, let's just start. I know. It is funny how so many people, that's when life starts. Yeah. So start there, like just a little bit of your background. And you guys have to, like, she's just been on fire this year. I'm going to share with you some photos. Come on, I've been watching you on social media. Like seriously, and I'm gonna say it from as a female, and also I'm gonna say as an older female, like you represent and you're a huge mentor for a lot of ladies. Like I'm just like, I wish I had the time to cyclocross, but I spend all my time like family in the summer. But I love watching people that I know hit the podium. And anyway, so I can't tell.
Yes, we're trying to keep.
I know
our
we're
distance,
trying to keep our distance.
Anyway,
so tell us. Okay, give us how did it all start for you?
When I was your typical teenager, was not interested in sports. I was overweight. I was smoking cigarettes. I was chasing after boys. I was wearing makeup. I mean, sports were about the last thing on my mind. But I started to get into it sort of seriously in my 20s. Okay. My dad and my uncle were very into the jogging craze that was happening at the time. This would have been probably in the early 70s.
Yeah, when I was born.
And so it's sort of started with a little bit of running. I could run half a block and I was limping home, and then swimming. My dad told me I was in disgusting shape if I couldn't swim 22 laps of the Winter Club pool, and I lasted about 3 laps.
Everybody needs to start somewhere.
Then there was cross-country skiing, and we went down to the river, and the Assiniboine River in Winnipeg, and I got my first lesson from my uncle, which was, you go like this. And they took off like shots.
It's like, I'll see you later.
Yeah, and I struggled down the river. But anyway, I decided that I really liked cross-country skiing, and I was going to work at this, despite being in such pain the next morning that I could barely get out of bed. So one thing led to the next, and I tried to get myself into shape for cross-country skiing by doing some running, and doing the swimming and the running got a little bit better, and I was going to the ski race circuit with the Cross-Country Ski Association of Manitoba. And I guess I've always been sort of goal-driven. I find I've always been fairly competitive, and I've always liked having a goal. Like it gives you some focus in your life, and it gives you a challenge. And so I worked away at my fitness, and so by the end of, I guess it would have been the beginning of the 80s, I actually found myself to be the Manitoba champion in cross-country skiing and senior women, and I was also the senior women's champion in biathlon, which was unbelievable.
Oh, good shot.
This friend of mine begged and pleaded, you got to come up to Snow Lake and do the biathlon provincial championships. I said, how can I do biathlon? I don't know how to shoot. I've never shot a rifle. So
that's okay. I'll teach you.
There were three of us in the category, so we went up and we all learned how to shoot, and half an hour later did my first biathlon race. And
What?
ended up.
Are you serious? Half an hour later? Okay, that doesn't exist in
Yeah,
this
it was
world.
pretty funny. Yeah, well, it wouldn't happen
Was that,
now.
was it 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah.
So it was just the 3 of you?
Yes, it wouldn't happen now. So I just want to make this brief because, you know, I could tell lots of things that I could tell. But anyway, by 1983, I decided that I wanted to take this biathlon sport a little more seriously because I was doing, you know, reasonably well at it and I really liked it, and I wasn't quite ready to settle into a full-time job, so I decided to take the plunge and move to Ottawa. And I was under the mentorship of my wonderful friend Lise Malash, who taught me so much about training.
So you've been with her for that long.
Yeah, and she, you know, we trained together, and so I did biathlon fairly seriously for the next 5 years, and I went to the World Championships in biathlon in 1988 in Chamonix, France. And the biggest thing I learned from that experience was what it takes to compete at that level. Like the physical training is just, you know, you have to physically train for it, but it's just
She's like,
dealing,
are you ready for this?
Well, it's just dealing with the mental aspect of it, and you know, you arrive and you go, what am I doing here? You know, like
I felt that you look around, you're like,
but you know, you just do what you can. I thought, you know what, nobody's expecting you to win here, just do your best. And I had 3 races there. The first one didn't go quite as well as I'd hoped because I just got too nervous and kind of fell apart mentally. I mean, not terribly, but let's just say I could have done better with a little more focus. And then the second
Did you
race,
regroup? I
regrouped. For the second race, I went and sat in a quiet place. I did my yoga, my deep nostril breathing, and I pumped myself up. I said, you can do this. You know, the reason that the other girls on the team did really well is because they were
doing it.
They were there and they did it. And you can do it too. And, you know, things went way, way better. And then by the time I got to the relay, I wasn't even supposed to race the relay, but I was the anchor because Miriam Bedard was sick. And this is the famous Miriam Bedard who went on to win, you know, 2 gold medals in I think it was Lillehammer Olympics. But anyway,
like, yeah, I'll take her spot.
So I took her spot, and then the two girls that went out first and second, I think Lise either went out first or second leg. Anyway, they both shot clean, and I just said, you know what? Are you gonna do this, or are you gonna wreck it for your team? I said, no, we're gonna do this. So I was very calm. I think Lise had us in 5th place, so I took off, and only one girl passed me right at the beginning skiing, and we managed to stay in 6th place. It was probably the biggest thrill of my life. Because I think there were about 16 teams.
Nice.
So then during biathlon training, I had taken up mountain biking. So when biathlon wound down at the end of the 80s, it was time to get a real job. So,
okay, how old were you getting the real job?
Well, let me see. Can I do the math? Like I was probably in my late 30s by this point.
Oh.
Yeah.
I would think younger. So you were doing like professional.
73, 83. Yeah. So I was in my late 30s. I started teaching in my early 40s. But
oh wow.
I had a job. I got a job with the school board as a lab technician, and then I did that for a few years, and that led into teaching. So anyway, during all this time.
But you were like a paid athlete. Like,
no, I wasn't that. I wasn't, you know.
You're getting like the real job, you mean?
I meant the real job, like, you know, reality of getting a job
need a good
somewhere and making some money, and, you know. But I took the biathlon as far as I could. I went to the North American Championships in 1987 and got a bronze medal. And there was a pre-World Cup race out in Canmore that I actually got on a podium too, which is pretty exciting because this was, you know, I was this prairie girl. This was all new to me, and especially when I'd started late, I didn't know. It's one of those cases of if I only knew then what I know now about training and nutrition and recovery. I mean, but you know, that was just, you know, you learn it over the years.
Yeah,
so so I started working for the school board, and one of my colleagues, Eric Betteridge, said, you know, you got to come out and try cyclocross. So I thought, well, after all this mountain biking, because I had mountain bike fairly serious for quite a while, and I went to the World Masters Championships out in Bromont, those were the most fun weekends ever. Anyway, so when I started cyclocross, I thought, well, how hard can this be? I mean, after the brutality of the Wednesday night Camp Fortunes, bike races, and
the Sunset Series?
Yeah, Sunset Series.
Yeah.
And more fun times on Wednesday nights.
Oh, yeah.
So, I went out to cyclocross and I was hooked. I mean, how hard can this be? Well, after 20 minutes, when I was sort of coughing up a lung, and
after all that biathlon training and mental training, like, you can do anything. Seriously.
Yeah. So I just continued. I mean, anybody that does cyclocross knows that you kind of live vicariously from Sunday to Sunday because it's just so much fun. So when I started cyclocross, there were only 3 women that turned up on a regular basis. There was Jen Adams and Marcy Gerard and myself, and sometimes Nancy Manning. Well, over the years, 3 women turned into 5 women, turned into 8 women, and then more races were added on, and now cyclocross.
Now the women have their own category.
Yes, the women have
that's good when the women have their own category now.
And a rough estimate, there might be 70 or 80 women that sign up for the series now, and including all these little rockets from the OBC.
I know, I heard that they've got the kids, too.
And they're fast. Holy moly.
And they're like, boom!
They keep me moving. Anyway, so retirement came in 2015, and as I say, that's when my world changed.
I was just
you had so
retired.
much more time, I could go on bike trips in the spring, and, you had time to go to races, more just races and more time to recover, from the traveling. Because I find it's not the racing it's a combination of the racing and the traveling and everything that can be quite exhausting.
Because you can drive for hours.
Yes. So when I retired, I was able to start going to the Canadian Championships in cyclocross, which happened.
So I hate to do this to you, but retirement was when?
January of 2015.
Yeah, I remember 2015. Can I ask your age? When you retired.
When I retired, I was born in 53.
So
stop. 53, 63.
Come on, you know how old you were when you retired. And I only asked that because
61.
Yeah. Okay. So, and the only reason why I ask you is because so many women don't think that they can do stuff at that age. Like, even at 50, I'm almost 50. Patti, I'm 1 year from 50.
Yes.
And I hope that I'm like you at your age. Not this year, but you're just living. And that's what so many women need to see that. It doesn't have to be in cyclocross. It could be in anything, right?
I realize that not everybody's a competitor, but the truth of it is I just really love to ride my bike. It doesn't matter if I'm on a gravel road or I'm mountain biking or cyclocross.
I'm like that too.
I have always loved to ride my bike. Even when I was in Winnipeg, just totally out of shape and...
on your banana seat?
I didn't have a banana seat. My first bike was one of those CCMs that you pedal backwards to.
To stop? Oh, yeah.
But I used to, I went through a series of, 10 speeds. And I used to ride endless loops around Assiniboine Park bike trails. And so I think that the secret to all this is, I just really like to ride my bike, and I realize not everybody's a competitor, but I just love the competition. I love going away to the races, and I love all the people that you meet, and
I think it's
I like getting those competitive juices all fired up, and
I think that you don't have to be a competitor, but I think just that feeling of being with a bunch of people and just going out there and having fun is half the race. I mean, everybody has an idea of what their goal is going to be for their race, whether it's finishing, that's a lot of people's goal, and finishing in a certain amount of times, and then finishing in a certain amount of places. But, it's just going out and doing the best and, getting better every time.
Well, that's what I always try to do. And the first, I guess I've done cyclocross now probably for about 20 years, and, for the first for the first while, I just did it for fun. I mean, there were only 3 or 4 of us, and it was fun, and I didn't take it all that seriously. But then as it got more competitive, I thought, oh my gosh, I better up my game here. So
you're like, I'm secretly going to up my game, and I'm not going to come fourth.
So I started to,
secretly train.
Started training on more skills. Training. I've trained with the Peak Center since about 2000 or so. So that gave me sort of that sort of gave me a guideline every week and every month to go by, because I realized that trying to make your own training program was getting me nowhere.
Yeah.
I bought Joe Friel's training Bible and tried to wade myself.
I have his.
I said, you know what?
It's worth paying somebody to tell you what to do.
I'm going to pay somebody. I need to see every day what I need to do.
Yeah.
So, so I trained at the Peak Center since about 2000. So that gave me, sort of, there's a certain sort of confidence you get from following a program and having some consultation and, getting some feedback and, rather than just try to go out there and do it on your own and not really know what you're doing. And
I know, stop wasting time.
Yeah,
just pay the money for the season.
So as cyclocross progressed and things were getting faster and more furious,
more people,
more competitive, and more people out there, I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna just really, focus a little more here, because the women now had their own race and everything. So just back to where I guess it was the fall of 2015, I believe, without jotting all this down. I think it was,
after you retired.
After I retired,
yeah.
I went to Winnipeg to do the the Canadian Cyclo-Cross Championships, and that was amazing, because it's so nice to go to your home city.
Oh,
yeah. I mean,
you're like, I'm back.
I was born and brought up in Winnipeg, so I mean, it was just, there's a certain comfort in going to some place where you're familiar with.
Yes.
So, and it was at the Forks, and till this day, I still think that's one of the best. I mean, every cyclocross course has its characteristics and things that you really like, but that course in Winnipeg was just amazing at the Forks there. And the age category was just women over 30. That was the only category I could go in. So, my goal usually in that category is, okay, if I can finish in the middle of this pack, that's a good result. And that's exactly where I finished. I think there were 33 women, and I came 16th or something.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, that's a perfectly decent result. I did okay. It was all right. And then I believe it was at one of the races, my wonderful friend Vicky Thomas and Mark and I are going to Belgium.
Oh, you went
for
to
the
Belgium
World Championships, and that was happening in about 3 weeks. And I said, you know what? I should go. And Vicky said, yeah, you should. So I made some last minute arrangements, and off I went. And again, it was one of those oh my god moments. Like, I didn't know
that would be a bigger oh my god
I
moment.
knew nothing about wheels and tires and tire pressure. I mean, I thought as long as you had wheels, and if you had wheels and tires on your bike, and the bike was moving.
Don't pretend you don't know. It's like, oh well,
But
I just brought this.
I found out very quickly that wheels and tires and tire pressure are absolutely critical. I mean, it's like what ski waxing is to skis. You can't, people that say, well, ski waxing doesn't matter what you put on your skis. Well, it makes a huge difference. So that was a really, really fun. That was a really fun event. I learned a ton. I went about 2 days earlier.
Smart.
In retrospect, I should have gone about a week earlier. But you learn about that whole experience.
Well, it was, after all 3 weeks, and
so yeah. So anyway, I went, and the category at that point was 60 to 64, and I came third. And I thought, you know what? Well, there were only 3 of us. Hey.
Okay, we don't have to say that.
No.
Third
Actually,
is
there
awesome.
There were 100 women there. But, I realized then that, what? Third's okay for my first shot at this, but I'd like to be a little higher on this podium. I don't like being on the sides here. So
did you go back the next year?
I went back the next year. The irony of the next year was I took 3 sets of wheels. I had 2 sets of tubulars and some clinchers and training wheels and everything. Well, middle of the most important race of the most important the most important race of the year, and I got a flat. I couldn't believe it. I went the whole season without a bobble. But anyway, things happen.
So were you able to switch up your tire?
No way. Actually, at this point,
not where you were.
My Tim O'Connor and Robbie O were in the pit, and so I got a spare bike. But at that point, I only had to run I only had to ride maybe a few hundred meters to the finish line. But that's okay.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you learn. So anyway, I got a silver that time. Then I went back the next year, got another silver.
Got a flat and got a silver.
Yeah, and then the next year, I hope I'm not boring everybody.
Okay, well, how's this? 5 years you went in a row?
4 years I went.
4 years in a row, okay.
So this year, cyclocross season was going relatively well. I had a Canadian championship. I had a Pan-Am championship. I had a world champion masters in mountain bike, which they didn't honor at the time, but it's a long story, which I'm not going to go into now. But I got my rainbow jersey and my gold medal in November from a race that was in August. But hey, better late than never.
Did you get the picture?
I got
That's all that counts.
Yeah.
The picture.
And anyway,
well, that's outstanding.
So we can only make speculation of why the older ladies category was totally ignored, but we're not going to go into that. It's okay.
Are we? We're gonna have to
It's over and done with. It got rectified. We had to fight for our rights, but we got there.
Are we gonna have to vent over that?
So I'm thinking it's about October, and I'm thinking.
So is this year?
This is
okay.
This is fall of 2019. And I thought, okay, am I going to go back to Belgium? And I had all these excuses. Yeah, I'm going to go back to Belgium, and I'll travel around, and I'll eat some chocolate and eat some Fritz, and I'll come second again, and the French lady's going to beat me. And then I thought to myself, you know what? With an attitude like that, you're getting nowhere.
Yeah, no.
So
that's
I
just
said, you know what? I'm going to Belgium this year, and I'm going to be on the top of that podium. I'm tired of being on the side. I had a bronze and 2 silvers, so I just made up my mind that I was going to win this thing. I was going to win it. So I just totally made up my mind that I was not going there to lose again, because second or third would
I love this. This is mindset, guys.
Oh yeah,
this is total mindset, and then getting to work.
So I just took a deep breath, and I go, okay, you're the only person that can ride your bike around that course and do this. Nobody else can do it for you.
That's
you
right.
The best coach in the world.
Right.
You can, Sven Nys can be there cheering on the sideline. You're still not gonna. So I got to Belgium about 10 days ahead of time, and I was starting to really like the idea that I was going to be on the top of this podium. So I made a plan of how I was going to do this, and I sort of had a routine at this point. In the first couple of days, I just ride around the awesome network. So did they have Belgium.
They didn't have the course set up.
The course, I went to the course 3 days in advance. So prior to that, to get over jet lag and everything, Belgium has an amazing bike path system.
Yeah.
And just got myself all mentally prepared, and I went over to the course on the Tuesday. This would have been the end of November. I forget the exact date, but the race was going to be, I believe it was Friday, November 30th. So I went over there 4 days ahead of time. It's in Mole, Belgium. And of course, I was making all these excuses before. I hate the course. It's too much sand, and I'm gonna just, I don't like this. And then I thought,
instead of strategizing,
yeah. So you have to I go, you know what? I love this course. I'm gonna learn how to ride the sand or run the sand or whatever I need to do. So I just went over there on the Tuesday. This is 3 days before, and I went over that course memorizing every single grain of sand on it, figuring out how I was going to do this. And the strategy I used the year before didn't work. I was going to
different course though.
Well, it was basically the same.
Yeah,
They'd made a few changes, but the sand hadn't disappeared.
Oh, okay.
It's like the Sahara Desert there. It's a beautiful location on a little lake, but
there's lots of sand? Or is it just like a sand pit?
Tons of sand. Well, lots of beaches. And
right.
Yeah, there's, let's just say, more sand than you would ever. It's not just sand pits, no long tracks of sand. And the year before, I was going to wrestle this sand to the ground. I was going to ride through all that sand, and I just learned very quickly it's just not a good strategy because you just waste too much energy. It's too hard. I mean, this is very
deep,
granular, fine sand.
Yeah.
Lovely to clean your bike afterwards, cleaning all this sand out of your drivetrain and everything. So I just, I went over on Tuesday and I go, okay, you're going to learn to like this course. You're going to figure out how you're going to do this. And I timed certain sections. There were certain sections I rode, and then when I ran them, they were like 20 and 30 seconds faster. So I thought, well, what on earth were you doing before? So I just figured out exactly every section what I was going to do. And running through those thick sand sections was definitely faster than trying to ride through it. And it was also, it gave the course it had some flow to it. So, for instance, when you came off a bike trail and you saw a long section of beach, you could get off your bike on the pavement and then run, shoulder the bike and run and then hop back on when you could. And it just gave it more flow than if you sort of hit the sand, struggled through it, fell off, struggled away to get going again. So, so I just, for 3 days before, I just practiced and I was very calm.
For the race?
No, not at all, because I did, I did yoga, I meditated, I listened to my music playlists.
See, meditation, everybody. I think that's so key for a lot of, or just like quiet time.
For sure, because I had a podcast from this wonderful girl at Vray Nature Yoga. She sent me a little podcast. It's about 12-minute meditation. And I listened to it a few times. And so when I got up in the morning, I just felt like $1 million.
Is that on Spotify? Because I'll share it.
I'm not sure. Okay. I'd have to find out. So anyway, Friday morning came, got up, felt like $1 million. I was very calm. It was a beautiful day. I said, okay, you're going to do this. So,
were you by yourself?
Yes, I go by myself.
Yeah, I know, but were there other rental teammates at this one?
Rob was there, but he was sort of staying in a different spot, and he was with some guys, so, he's basically, but I'm fine,
No, I mean, but, for race day, there's other, they were there racing as well.
Rob, well, I'm not sure when Rob, I think it was later on in the day, but anyway, but that was basically by myself, which is fine,
mm-hmm. I like being by myself too.
The only thing when I'm by myself that I miss is the support with the bike, because I'm not bad. I can put my own bike together, I can adjust brakes, but if it came to something kind of serious, more serious repairs, so the first thing I did was find the local bike shop, and I had the guy go over my bike
after you put it together.
So, yeah. Well, I knew it was okay, but it was the day before the race. You just went and
Yeah.
So anyway, race day came, and the race started, and I was just very calm, and it was pretty relaxed. The first lap went really, really well.
Did you see the other girls?
I wasn't. I was just focusing on what I was doing. I wasn't, trying not to look around. And, obviously you have to be aware of what's around you, because sometimes the other thing I do when I was looking at the course, you memorize different lines, because mm-hmm. sometimes the line you want is taken, or somebody falls, or, whatever.
Right.
So anyway, the first lap went really, really well. And then the second lap came, and I saw Christine, the French lady, was right in front of me, and she's beaten me 3 years in a row. And I just looked at her. She was maybe about 5 or 6 meters ahead. And I said, sorry, honey. You're not beating me this year.
This is not your year.
Just not happening. Too bad. So sad.
Did you pass
her? So I passed her, but she's pretty tough.
So we got two tough ladies going at it.
So we were duking it out halfway through the second lap, and then I got ahead of her in a section of sand that I rode, and she was running. And then I realized I got by her, and I just said, you know what? Just stay calm.
Yeah,
don't get too excited. Just stay calm and pedal like you've got a grizzly bear behind you or something.
Yeah.
So just near the end of the second lap, disaster hit. I got to an innocuous piece of sand. My front wheel got caught in it. It was just this rut. And I did a face plant in the sand.
Oh no!
And I thought, what the heck? So I thought for sure she was going to pass me, but I just picked the bike up and got going as fast as possible. And I'd scrape my nose, and I had sand coming out of everywhere.
Like, fucking who cares?
So I got myself going, and she hadn't passed me. So I started the third lap, and my bike was just making a terrible, sort of clanging noise. It turned out I'd broken some spokes, but it didn't seem to be affecting the bike any. So I said, look, the bike,
they're like,
the bike doesn't sound very good, but just paddle.
It's like it still rolls.
It's still rolling, so just don't bother to stop and see what the problem is. It's still moving.
Yeah, no, totally.
So I finished, and she hadn't passed me. I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it.
So was it just 3 laps?
It was just a 3-lap race, and it was pretty intense.
Wow. So how long is each lap? Oh, well, how long is the lap?
Well, I finished in, I think my time was 34 minutes, so we're probably talking about I think it was a little less than a 3K loop.
Okay.
2.9, something like that.
So did you find out what happened to her?
I don't know. She finished 40 seconds behind me, and I just, I was in such, I thought, well, she had to have passed me. Maybe I took a wrong turn.
Yeah,
maybe
I know that feeling like, did I miss something?
Maybe I'm going to be disqualified. I had to run and check the results. I just couldn't believe it. So anyway, when the awards came, I still was in a state of shock because there was no feeling in the world like being on the first step of the podium, hearing "Oh Canada." I thought I was going to just pass out right then and there. Because you know what, at this age, like I was in the master women's category 65 to 69. I mean, you're not going to the Olympics. You're not going to be competing with Katie Compton and Sana Kant and all those fast young Dutch girls in the World Championships. But this is a competition for masters athletes where you can do what you can do. So I was extremely happy.
So would you say, Patti, that for someone like myself who's moving into the 50s in that age category, that should I maybe pick up my game? And,
I mean, it's never too late.
I know.
I mean, the just for example, I love this. Like, I feel the best that I've ever felt in my life. The other major thing that I've done is changed my nutrition over the years.
Oh,
and
you have to.
I went vegan 2 years ago, and that was another game changer. I just never felt better in my life. And, it was just an experiment. My niece and her husband were vegans, and I thought, well, maybe I'm going to try this out. And I just felt so much better.
I know, I switch mine up too.
Doesn't work for everybody, but I think that's another thing. You have to be not afraid to try things. If you try certain dietary regimes and they don't work, or whatever. But that was really important. Mm-hmm. But it's just never too late. I can
I like that.
I can't. I mean, I can't expect to go to the Eastern Ontario Cross Series and beat Jody Wendland or the speedsters.
But you can
there.
try.
But I can hold my own and improve.
But the thing is that
race.
you go there and you do your best, and like your goal could be just to keep an eye on her and your visual.
Yeah. Now, in the winter. So anyway, I came home from Belgium, just top of the world. I sort of crashed and burned for 3 weeks. I just really didn't do much. I
Why?
a bit because I was just like,
I know. I think I remember seeing that. I was like,
holy
moly, look at all these podiums.
The end of the season, and you come home and you're just on such a high, and then you just sort of see your friends.
It's
So I was just so happy. I mean, it was just like a dream season. I had a Canadian jersey, a Pan Am jersey, as I said before, and I had 2 World Championships. Like, I mean, I just thought, wow, I still can't believe it.
I wish you brought your hardware. Maybe you have to send me a picture with you and all your stuff so I can put it in when I upload this.
So in the winter, I love competing in winter events. I still love cross-country skiing, and that's sort of my winter stuff. I put the bike away. I'm not a trainer person. I go on the trainer occasionally, but in the winter, I like to be outside. Doesn't matter how cold it is. I mean, I came from Winnipeg. It can go down to minus 80.
Whatever.
And, when people say, oh, it's too cold. I go, well,
you're like,
go stand on Portage in Maine for a few minutes in the middle of January. They don't know what cold is. But I did the 50K Classic Loppet, which I usually do, and I love that race. And, skiing is just sort of my secondary sport, and I always do reasonably well at it. And when I looked at the results, the woman that won beat me by over an hour and a half. I looked and I just went, what the heck? I mean, is this rocket woman? I mean, like, did she take a shortcut through the woods?
Well, okay, so where did you finish?
Well, I was second in my age category, but the whole point is this woman, 67 years old, comes from Vernon, BC, absolutely amazing skier. She came third overall in the whole race for the women. And I went to meet her because I went to see Louise Poirier because I was just like, do you know this lady? Like, this is just unbelievable
like, who is
how
this lady?
fast this lady is. And so
like,
Louise took me to introduce me to her, and she and her husband, they ski all the time. They ski up in Vernon, and they do the, I think they do the local sort of they do American Birkebeiner, and she was also the World Masters champion in cross country skiing for the 15K Classic. So, I'm not being competitive at all. I'm looking at the results going, holy
Shut up,
moly,
honey.
is this woman fast. So she was, she won the 15K Classic, and the World Masters in cross country skiing were in Norway last year. And she beat the next woman by 3 minutes. She beat all the Swedes, all the Norwegians.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So I thought, okay. So the point that I'm making is she's 67. She's a year older than I am, and she's just kicking everybody's butt out there.
Wow.
So
retirement, kids out of the house. You need something to do. You just get outside.
Never too late, and you just need consistent training. Don't take yourself too seriously. Do your strength workouts and your yoga and your meditation. Sound
These are good tips.
Don't get injured. And I mean, I don't want to blow my own horn, but other than, I broke my collarbone in a gravel race 2 years ago, and I broke my thumb. But as far as overuse injuries, pretty good.
Do you respect recovery, and do you take it
absolutely.
seriously? Because a lot of people don't.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't.
No.
It's like I have to be doing something every day to the max, and that's it.
Your training program is not. They're not engraved in stone. They're not the 10 Commandments. So if you're supposed to go out and do, I don't know, zone 5 intervals, 5 of them or whatever, and you're not feeling well or you're sick, or just do something easy and, do that hard workout the next day. But it's so important to listen to your body because it's usually trying to tell you something. When I came back from Midland this year, I was on the verge of getting sick. And I thought, you know what? You're going to Belgium next week. You cannot get sick right now. So I basically took the whole week and just did easy workouts. I don't usually like taking I don't like taking days off. I take 1 day off a week.
But that's
usually.
not taking it off.
But
you're still being physically active. Day.
But I took that whole week and just did easy stuff. So I would do an easy hour spin outside, or I'd do an easy hour on the CompuTrainer just to start feeling better again. And you do, but. It's just so important to listen to yourself and to understand, because there's just absolutely no point if you're injured to go and try to train hard, or sometimes you need to take 3 days off. It just depends, but it's just important to be able to read yourself and know what your limits are, because you can't compare yourself to other people. Like, some people can take an amazing amount of training stress and snap right back, but other people need longer time to recover. And that's what I found too when you're older. You need a little bit.
I find it when I'm like late 40s, and I'm just like, I like recovery, maybe too much, but but I think it's important because I see so many people not getting the results that they're looking for, and the reason is they're basically burning themselves out. They're overtrained, and they're because when I do my winter stuff inside, their heart rates are skyrocketing, or either they're too low and they can't get them up, and it's just like, that's a real big indicator.
That was probably the most important thing I learned from Lee's in those early biathlon days when I was just this, I was this prairie chicken and had never seen a hill in my life, and Lee's had, she'd trained national team cross country skiing, she'd done racing and kayaking, and she knew a lot. And she just said, when it's time to go easy, you go easy. And when it's time to go hard, you know, you go hard. But if you train too hard all the time, if you train sort of too much moderate to hard all the time, that when it's time to go hard, your heart rate can't go up there. Yeah. So I learned as much as I could about training through the years, because, you know, I realized how important that was.
See, you're a good coach.
So
you're a good coach. Don't tell me again.
And, you know, there's so much information out there. So when you hear about people that are sick and injured, and, you know, I think getting sick and being injured is sort of, it's a clue that it's something you either have to cut back on stuff, you're going too hard, too many hard workouts. But again, we've all done it. I mean, when I started, I thought you had to go as hard as you can, as fast as you can, for as long as just as much time as you could spend. Well, I found out very quickly that was just not the case.
You just can't do that with other life, right? Like,
yeah, and having a balance. Like, I love to go out with my friends and go to the movies and go to restaurants. Of course, that's not going to be happening anytime soon, but just have
we'll
a
have to
balance.
sit like this on the couches.
And, you know, not to take... And, you know, we all know the blabbermouths that blab away about how great they are. It's just, go to Belgium and race, and you're going to find out how good you are.
Or go to World Masters.
It's
or go
just,
like,
you know, like...
your national event.
You know, like, everybody just tries to improve themselves to do what they can do. But, you know, there's always people that are going to be better, and, you know, and...
Hey, I went to nationals in Edmonton
in
2008.
Ooh, wow.
It was cyclocross.
Yeah.
And I came third.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And I was like, that was like, whoa.
Yes.
But I was like, wow.
Anyway.
Wow. But
I guess the moral of all this is age is just a number.
It is just a number.
If that 67-year-old kick-butt lady from Vernon, BC can get out there and come third out of like 100 and some odd women in the 50K Classic, she just bowled me over. That gave me inspiration, you know, and... So it's just never too late.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that this particular interview really hits home with a lot of ladies, that you're never too old to start. Like, when I have my women's cycling club, and we get so many beginners, and I hear the same story. It's been 20 years. The kids, they're retired now, or they're making time for themselves. And you're never too old to start as a beginner, because the more you get out, the more you do, the more you progress. And I love this, Patti. Thank you so much. I so appreciate you coming in here last minute like this, but because I'm encouraging her to help coach at our club this summer, and I'm certainly hoping she takes it, takes a serious thought into it. I know it might be a bit of a commitment, but I think our club could really use your enthusiasm and your experience. Yeah, so
it all boils down to just loving riding your bike.
Yeah, you have to.
That is number one. It's just been my passion since I had my first bike. I love riding my bike. I love getting out there, whether you're going easy, whether you're going hard. It's just so wonderful, and especially with all the different types of bikes these days.
Yeah, I know. I'm actually going to get into gravel this year. But we have to wrap this up. And so don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to be putting out more amazing videos or interviews with women and other coaches, and there's just I have a lot of stuff waiting for you guys. So make sure you get each one of them. Don't forget the notifications, and take care and have an amazing day.